Oh hey there, I'm Jeff. I'm here to talk about overlanding, from how-tos, advice, gear, vehicle builds, and everything in between. Today we're talking about snorkels. Here we have our 2016 Tacoma. As you can tell, there is no snorkel on it yet, and we've taken it through some terrain that one would feel a little more comfortable having a snorkel on it. So we're going to throw one on today. But first, let's go over why would you need one. The main purpose for a snorkel is really to get clean air. So on a stock vehicle, your air intake is under your wheel well, and your wheel is kicking up a lot of dust, and that's where it's sucking in air from. Of course, with the snorkel, you're gonna have your head up high. And then the other reason, which most people think of first, is for doing water crossings. Now, to be honest with you, we only do a handful of water crossings a year, but when we do those, we really like having the snorkel just in case we get in deep enough to where we're above our air intake. So today we're going to tackle putting in a snorkel. So we've got the template on, everything's been taped and marked. Go ahead and pull that template off, and the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and drill. I like to use the step bit because that's going to give you a clean cut and it won't mangle up the metal quite as much as a normal bit will, so it makes it easier to deburr it after you've cut the hole. And then we will cut out the hole for the airflow intake into the engine. Using a body saw really is the easiest way to make that big cut for the hole. In the past, a lot of these are designed where you can use just a 4-inch hole saw, and some of that's changing now with this model. It's just easier to use the body saw with that oval shape. So after we've got those stud holes drilled and then our large hole cut out, I'm going to go through with a file and deburr everything. But we want to make sure all that burring is off of there, because now we're going to go ahead and paint that so we don't have any rust. All right, so we have all of that in place. Now let's go ahead and put our studs into the actual snorkel itself, and we're going to do a dry fit. We want to make sure that everything lines up properly, because our next step is our most critical step, and that's going to be drilling our holes into our A-pillar. We're going to go ahead and mark the taped area on the A-pillar where our bracket is, so we can get those holes lined up properly. So again, we're going to deburr around those holes and paint, and then let's go ahead and insert our plastic tabs that we'll screw into later. Our next step is to install the air intake hose. The way you do that is you pinch together the end that goes into the engine bay, and you feed it up through the wheel well and into your air intake hole. Once you have that in place, you can go ahead and put your clamp around the air intake hose and reinstall your air box. We need to make sure we get a collar on the other end of that hose, so go ahead and put your collar on there before we install the snorkel. So let's go ahead and take our Loctite, we'll put it on our studs, put those studs into the snorkel itself, and now we can mount that onto the vehicle. After we have that mounted, I like to go in and just loosely put in the washers and nuts in the wheel well. And I do that so I make sure I can get the bracket that's on the A-pillar lined up, and then I'll put those bolts in. Okay, so once everything's lined up, all we need to do is go in and tighten down everything. So tighten down those nuts that are in the wheel well, and then tighten up the bolts that are on the A-pillar. Also make sure you tighten down your hose clamps that are inside the wheel well and the one that is inside the engine bay. And then the last step, of course, is to put on the ram head. Make sure you have your clamp around the base of the ram head first, slide that on top, and tighten it down. I like to make sure that I have the screw clamp to the back, just so we don't snag anything when we're going down the trail. This isn't all you need to do for river crossings. Make sure that you have your diff breathers extended and any of your electrical components are protected as well. So there you have it, guys. Thanks for watching. Leave your comments and questions below, and we'll see you next time. Turned out great, didn't it? It looks good. It's because I did it. It's sexy.